Good morning. Happy day 3, everybody. I am just like, I'm buzzing. I'm so excited to do this work with you guys this morning. And a large part of why I'm so excited to do this with you guys this morning is because I haven't actually really done this work with anybody before. This identity work is something that's brand new. This is something that came up after Montreal, and it's just been like stewing in the background. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it for something like a 3-day course, but I think that this is going to be foundational for us to decide like, where do we go next? Who do we get to be next? So one of the podcasts that I had listened to, it doesn't really matter, I guess, when I listened to it. It was recently though. But I was listening to this podcast by Ed Milet, and he was interviewing somebody, and they're talking about, with kids. With kids, we always say like, oh, embrace that like terrible twos, embrace it. They'll never be this little again. Embrace that sassy 6-year-old because when they turn 7, they're gonna be a new person. Hold on to that like Zoe is at preteen stage. Hold on to that because next is teenage. And then, like, there's just constantly this feeling that, like, every time our kids do a trip around the sun, they become somebody new. And at what point as adults do we stop changing? At what point do we stop growing and evolving and adapting and adopting new identities? For some of us, it might have been when you became a mom. Heather, you do lots of personal development. That's not a fair answer. For some of us, it's when we become moms. For some of us, it's like the day that we finish college and we start our job, right? I know that we've got a couple of nurses in this program. How many of you feel like as soon as you became like you stepped into that healthcare role, you have that hat on now? That you are this like public figure, right? I know for me, working in such a small town, like where I grew up, 3,500 people, if all of the mills are open. It was very much, you felt like you were held to a higher standard. You had to wear this like different hat, like even going to the bar. I felt like people are like, you work in the hospital, what are you doing, right? Like as moms, we start to feel guilt and shame for doing things that make us feel like us. But also a lot of times we just lose ourselves in that newborn stage. But then why can't we ever find ourselves again, right? Why do we enter these different eras of our life and still feel like we don't know who we are? Feel so disconnected, right? The big theme from these 3 days has been connection. Why do we feel so disconnected from who we are now? And why can't we envision who we want to be in the future? One of the things that I think is like really common, and I want to kind of hear in the chat thread from you guys, have you ever said to yourself, I just want to get back to who I was? Just want to get back to the athlete I was in high school. Want to get back to being the life of the party that I was before I had kids. Want to get back to my routines. Want to get back to like all of these things that we used to have, that we used to be. And whether it's who we were 6 months ago or 6 years ago, right? We keep going back to that felt really good. This doesn't feel very good. How do I get back to that? Because our subconscious wants to say safe. That's like our caveman DNA, right? That's our default setting to say, I know that familiarity means that I stay alive, for lack of better words, right? So it's trying to keep us safe. So when we're at this place where we're like, I'm literally lost at sea. I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what brings me joy. I don't know what adventures I want to go on. Like, I don't even know what I want to do this weekend or what meal I want to eat tonight. Like, we just feel lost. The most logical answer for our subconscious is to go back to where we know things were going really well because we have evidence that that exists. We have proof that we are capable of doing those things. So we try to get back there. But I said this yesterday on the nurturing workshop that every time we don't learn a lesson, we continue to get handed that lesson, right? So if we're somebody all the way over here and we have gone through the crap, right? You left that island. You are out in the middle of the sea because you decided that you wanted to go somewhere else. It doesn't do us a service to go back to where we were, does it? Because then we're just starting over. And we're going to have to go through all of the crap that we just went through all over again because we obviously didn't learn our lesson, right? That's one half of the coin. The other half of the coin is when we come to this place where we know that, right? Heather knows that. She says, yes, I am constantly evolving, growing. That never stops, right? Like I am Peter Pan. We can have the time that we've done personal development. Maybe it was the way that we were brought up that like we know that past self served us then, doesn't serve us now. We're evolved, right? We can know that and we can dive into, okay, but who's my higher self? Who do I want to become? And it's common for us to be told to visualize, like sit there and close your eyes and go 5 years out, 10 years out, 20 years out. Like, who do you want to be? What does she wear? What does she eat for breakfast? What time does she wake up? Like, where do you live? Who do you surround yourself with? A lot of external things that we don't know. We don't know what tomorrow holds, right? So there's almost this like haze. And what happens is when we can't see that future, but we also know that we can't go back, we get stuck. And that's a really hard place to be when we're somebody that's saying, I want different. I want to know me again. But if I don't even know who that is, maybe I'm not ready for it yet. Maybe I haven't done enough personal development. Maybe I haven't done enough internal work. Maybe I haven't healed enough. Maybe I haven't learned the lessons. Maybe I'm not ready. So then we stay stuck. We stay here and we say, I'll wait until I figure it out. But what if I told you guys that it's along the way that we figure it out? We don't need to wake up tomorrow morning and go, I know who I want to be. Maybe you will wake up. Maybe this workshop is the thing that clears the haze for you. For me, it was an entire weekend in Montreal, fully immersed in embodiment practices, in somatics, in like some really life-altering practices that we did. It took a full weekend of deep, deep, repetitive work for me to get to a place where I was like, oh no, I know who I am and I know who I want to be. And I don't know who I want to be at 40 because for me, that feels like putting myself in a box. Yes, I want the vision. I want to know where the finish line is. I know all of those things, but I'm not tied to it. It's not fixed. And that freedom created that space for me to step into it now. So when we take this time to say, I want to change, I want to be different, I want to feel different, I want to do things different, I want to experience life different, the most important thing for us to remember is that it's not going to happen overnight. I shared about this on Wednesday about like our adopted beliefs, right? We have decades of people telling us who we should be, how we should show up, especially in motherhood. That is a big one. You guys, for me, I got pregnant at 20. I had my kid young. I didn't have friends that had babies. I had my experience with my own mom and social media, like social, all of the things, like movies, like all of those things that are painted for us. So then you're in it and you're trying to figure it out. You're trying to figure it out as you go. And in that first year, it's really easy for that survival mode identity to stick. But the danger is that sometimes those modes stick for 18 years. And then when they move out, we're left going with, oh shit, who am I? What do I do? I need to make a change. It's abrupt. Same thing might happen if you are married and you get divorced. The same thing might happen if you decide in the pandemic that you don't want to live in your job, your career anymore, and you want to go live a totally different life. The same thing can happen when you move from a small town to a city because, man, is that different. We have many transitional periods in our life, and we expect ourselves to go from this to this overnight. We expect ourselves to start the routines at 100%, all or nothing mentality. When we bring the all or nothing mentality to our identity, that's where we experience imposter syndrome. That's when we start to go, wait a minute, who do you think you are? You're lying to yourself. You can't actually do this. You've tried this before and it hasn't worked, right? Because if we're sitting here trying to envision ourselves 5 years out, 10 years out, 20 years out, and that person is like thriving. They have their shit together. The kids have moved out. They're living in their dream home. They are eating the things they want to eat and all of the things. And we try to just like take ourselves out of this and put ourselves in there. And we forget that between now and then, there's a whole lot of lessons for us to still learn. When we are working on shifting our identity, it is not about just stepping into it the next day. It is about saying, that sounds exciting. That makes me happy. That gives me joy. That gives me hope. That brings me peace to think that like one day that's going to be who I am. But I'm going to give myself love and compassion and grace for it to not be perfect today. I'm going to look forward and I'm going to pick one thing that I know 40-year-old Trisha does. And I'm going to wake up tomorrow and I'm going to do that and I'm going to see how it feels. And I'm going to wake up the next morning and do it again. And I'm going to continue to do that thing until I have proof that, yeah, that actually does feel good for me and my body. That actually does produce the energy that I want to have. This leads me to the connections and adventures and joy that I want to have. Do you guys follow what I'm saying? Yeah. So this is something that we want to have all of this awareness around what happens when we dive into identity work. Because otherwise, I don't want you guys to get off this call when we're done all of the journaling that we're going to do today. I don't want you to get off of this call and wake up tomorrow morning and go, shit, I had so much clarity when I was on this call with Trish or when I was listening to the replay. For those that are listening to the replay, I don't want you to get off this call and be like, where did it go? What happened? Why am I not living this? I don't want you to get to Monday and have a bad day in traffic and lose your shit and be like, I just told myself that like I'm the person that's unbothered. What am I doing? And then have this identity crisis. We need it to be gradual. We need to know that there are lessons to learn because if we want to be the person that's unbothered and doesn't let the minor inconveniences of the day completely derail us, when that lesson presents itself, now we have an awareness to check in and go, why does this bother me? Why does this trigger me? What is this trying to teach me about myself? What do I need to learn to be able to overcome this? Right? Is everybody like, are we feeling me? It's Saturday morning. Half of the faces are not here, and that's okay. I'm borrowing Meg and Linda. I love that Linda is taking all of the notes, and I'm like, yes, good. Things are hitting home. So when we look at our identity, this is the place that I want you guys, before we dive into some journaling, the place that I want you to come to. And this is where normally I don't guide people when I'm coaching them, but I want to guide you guys because you all came here intuitively. You all saw a message that clicked and you said, yes, please give it to me. I don't care when it is. I don't care how you're doing it. I don't care how long. Like, is it an hour? Is it all day? Like, I don't know. Give it to me. I want you guys to come to a place where we understand that tapping into our highest capacity identity, the one that can do anything and everything that's on our heart within our boundaries with nurturing energy, that's the one that's able to live from a place of intuition, not anxiety, not guilt, not self-shame, not self-judgment, right? We want to get to a place where we are so trusting of ourselves, where we have put in so much work to elevate ourselves that we can ride out the highs and lows. And now we're not going, okay, well, I could get into this routine, but then what if the kids get sick next week? You just know that you'll figure it out. Okay. So I want you guys to answer. I'll, we're going to do one question at a time because I think that that's like the most powerful. You guys can either just journal and type done in the chat thread, or you can type it into the chat thread. And I will make sure I can go back through and I can see everybody's stuff. I can personally email you the comments that you put so that you can pop them into your journal if you want, whatever works for you guys. Okay. But we're going to do a little bit of past evidence first. When we go to the past, we want to borrow some pieces. If being athletic felt really good, we don't necessarily need to hold ourselves to that standard that we are showing up doing backflips and like, oh, we don't get hurt and we recover overnight and like all of these things. But there's something about that that keeps pulling you back to it. So when you guys sit here, I want you to think about when is a time in your life that you did feel like you were on top of the world. You felt joy. You were going on adventures. You felt connected. You were capable of doing everything you wanted to do. If you could go back there, what would you want to bring with you? And I will type that into the chat thread as soon as I get the music playing for you guys again. Okay. So the next one, we're going to do a little bit of reflection first before we journal on it, okay? Does everybody know what their core values are? What the things are that are the most important to them? When we think about the best way for us to, in kind of like a split second, think about what our core values are if we don't know what they are. Think about times where maybe you feel anxious in a setting or you feel like your throat's tight and you like can't speak up because somebody is crossing a boundary. They're normally crossing a boundary that butts up against a core value. So for example, for myself, for a long time, I felt like it was family, and it took me a while to come to the point that it's actually connection. For me, it's connection with any human being, including myself. And anytime somebody is like butting up against that, if somebody shit talks a friend or like is coming in between time with my family, like I shared being on call with the hospital, like that was constantly hitting against this wall. That was a good sign that for me, it's connection. When I can't have like deep conversations with people without feeling like, this conversation's maybe not safe, like that's going against my connection. The other thing for me is my intuition, right? Being able to value my intuition. My husband coming to a place where he can trust my gut because I trust my gut. That was huge, which also fueled our connection side of things. The other thing for me is intentional action, being present, choosing what I do in my day, having that freedom to say, yeah, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to go do it. Hence, entrepreneurship. But being able to come in to see that these are the things that I value, that if I could only have three things in my life that I choose to fight tooth and nail for, what are those three things? When we want to kind of like just hold that in our brain, even if it's just one core value, if you know that it's family or integrity or connection, friendship, like whatever that is for you guys, when we hold that in our brain and we go back to this time that we just journaled on, that we would want to bring some of that back with us. We want to look at how would that fuel this core value now? So for me, for example, with the leadership example, I have proof that when I am like on the go and coordinating things, I feel the most connected with my loved ones. And that's why I'm planning a retreat for next year. I want to bring all of that organization and all of those things so that I can create more of that now because it's evolved. It's not just doing things in this one little segregated space, it's larger than that. So I want you guys to think about the things that are important that you value now today. Why would you bring that thing we just journaled on into today? Okay, Meg said something really powerful that I want to address. And if you're still journaling, I'm sorry if me talking distracts you, but this might also be helpful for somebody else. Because Meg's answer earlier was, let me just scroll up. Her answer was high school, that carefree nature. And thinking back on what we're going to pull into today, she says, honestly, I don't know that it would serve who I am today. I loved it at the time, and I look back on it very fondly. But who I am today involves a lot of caring about everything by necessity. Where does that belief come from, Meg? Yes, thank you. As a mom, I have to care about things. I have to worry about things. If we come back to yesterday, talking about micromanaging, the pressure that it creates, and how that is going to lead to burnout, we do have to care, right? We have to make sure that tiny humans are fed. We have to make sure that the house is kind of clean, right? But that's not 24/7, is it? The actual responsibility doesn't need to be there 24/7, does it? It feels like it does. Yes. This, this is why I wanted to do this work with you guys. Because even if you're not a mom, where do we feel like we have to care about things or we have to worry? When am I going to buy a house? Am I going to go back to school? Am I going to get the job? Am I going to get the promotion? I have to care about like how my house looks because otherwise the district is going to give me like bylaw tickets and all of these things, right? Like we live in a life where we do have responsibilities because we are adults now. If we look back on the carefree, there's a reason that that came up, right? If we come to our intuition, there is a lot of time in your life, Meg, that you could have gone back to. Why was carefree the piece that you wanted to go back to? If I had to take an educated coaching guess, it's because your subconscious knows that right now you are under a ton of pressure from having to care about everything. And it's seeing the impact that that has on your relationships, on you mentally, physically, emotionally, maybe even spiritually. And it went, hey, don't forget about this. Don't forget that when you were carefree, you've got some memories that you're pretty fond of. And we just talked about we don't need to go all the way back there, right? That doesn't serve you now. Going back to 16-year-old carefree, I can eat Cheetos for breakfast and drink Slurpees until 11 o'clock at night and survive off of 4 hours of sleep because you were up messaging your friends on like whatever it is, like that doesn't serve you today as a mom, right? Probably also doesn't serve your goals. But how can we borrow some of that carefree and bring it into this space where you are carrying all of this weight and pressure to relieve some of it? Kind of like if you guys have an Instapot, it's got the little valve at the top. Some meals, you're supposed to not pop the valve. You're supposed to let it just slow release, do its thing. It doesn't really matter. But some recipes, you are supposed to like quick release because it builds so much pressure in there. It would probably take an hour for it to slow release. It takes like 3 minutes if you pop the valve. So where can we bring in some level of carefree into motherhood for you right now? That doesn't need to be all day. It does not need to be all afternoon while the kids are home, like fly by the seat of my pants. Maybe we start with 15 minutes of carefree play. Maybe we start with carefree, let the kids come help in the kitchen, and if they make a disaster, oh well. Maybe we come to carefree, like, you know what, Friday nights, it actually doesn't matter what time you guys stay up until. Let's do movie night and have a fort in the living room. These are my examples. They might not be the things that you're like, yes, please sign me up for that. But where can we bring in some level of that carefree identity that has served you in the past? And your subconscious, your intuition is saying, hey, this could serve us now too. So I want you to really reflect on that. Yes. Yes. So it's definitely different when we have these pieces, right? These facts that are outside of our control. But in this moment, even as I gave you permission to have it be something as super duper small as like 15 minutes, 15 minutes of, I'm going to set a timer. And in this 15 minutes, I don't care. I don't care what happens. I don't care who says what. She can drop F-bombs for all I care. 5 minutes. When this is what's going to happen, you guys, when I was talking about our subconscious wanting to keep us safe, going to the past self, and it sees this opportunity where we give Meg this like glimmer of hope that says, hey, let's start small. It immediately goes with, yeah, but these are all of the reasons that that can't happen. Because yes, I think that having a neurodivergent, that's what ND means, right? Neurodivergent. Yeah. Having a neurodivergent kid is taxing. When we talk about our capacity, that's something that requires more capacity. So what do we do to elevate our capacity instead of accepting that this is a lid on our capacity? We have to borrow some of what worked in the past because there's a reason that it came up for you. And we have to challenge our subconscious, the one that's kind of scared that goes, shit, if I have 15 minutes of carefree time in a day, like, what's going to happen? Because sometimes our subconscious sees that, well, if I give myself 15 minutes of carefree, is that going to get carried away? And it gets scared of that. It gets scared of, what could life look like if I actually had some carefree time? How many more adventures would we go on? Because right now it sees things as taxing and not the energy that can come from it. Right? We want larger than life energy. So we have to challenge those thoughts. Because sometimes when we say, yeah, okay, I can't be totally carefree, but would 15 minutes kill me? Would it kill the kids? Would it kill my husband? No. We get to like challenge it with a little bit of poking fun at it. Sometimes that's what we have to do, you guys. Sometimes we want to like coach ourselves through things and get from like bleh to yay. Sometimes we just have to like poke the bear and be like, excuse me, where is your logic? Because I don't see it. It doesn't exist here. It was like the silliest thing I've ever heard you say, right? I talked about this earlier this week with my surgery, having 1 week off. I'm hopefully going to live to be like 99 years old. And I have, what is the math there? Like 68 years left to go. What service does it have to me if I beat myself up for taking 1 week of rest time? Even if I look at September being a total write-off in my business, I plan on working my business until I can't speak anymore. So what's 1 month off? Right? We get to start to poke holes in that, like, what? That doesn't make sense. So where can we bring that into our life? Is this helpful for everybody else to see like, oh, we started to push on an edge and our brain pushed back? And it might not have pushed back for you on this question, but it might push back for you on the next one. It might push back for you tomorrow, in a week, in 3 weeks. It might push back on you at Christmas when you're like, no, my identity isn't like solid enough to hold me through the chaos of the holiday season and the family and all of the things and the lights and the sounds and the mall is so busy and oh my God, like, we have to see that like it's gonna take work. It's not always comfortable, right? But if we look at whatever that is for you guys, okay? So the leadership, the connection that I made coming into who I could create core memories. Megan going from carefree to right now I care about a lot of things. We want to take who we were, what it was that we liked, what we want to bring in today, and we want to answer why we want to bring that into today. Because like we just talked about with Megan, there's a reason your intuition picked the thing that it did. You know what it is that you need today. And our subconscious is going to kind of go like, I don't know. And maybe you don't, and maybe it'll come to you later today when you're washing the dishes and these epiphanies come to you. But why is that the quality, the trait, the piece of your identity that you know you need today? And we're going to journal on that.
Presence and ease, 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 presence and ease. Presence. My mind is open and my spirit's free. Present in the moment and I'm finding ease. Let it flow. Let it flow. My mind is open and my spirit's free. Present in the moment and I'm finding ease. Let it flow. Let it flow. My mind is open and my spirit's free. Present in the moment and I'm finding ease. Present in the moment and I'm finding ease. My mind is open and my spirit's free. Present in the moment and I'm finding ease. Present in the mind is open and my spirit's free. And I'm present in the moment and I'm finding my mind is open and my spirit's free. And I'm present in the moment and I'm finding ease. Present in the mind is open and my spirit's free. And I'm present in the moment and I'm finding my mind is open and my spirit's free. Present in the moment and I'm finding my mind is open, let it flow.
Okay, I put on Christmas music next. And I don't know, we might just let it go anyways, because maybe it was meant to be, but I love this, Meg, because this anxiety disorder isn't healthy. Maybe my brain needs a break from it, always being the one, so I can have room for me. What a beautiful gift that would be for you. I want you to hold on to that, that if you can give all of these things to everybody else around you, can you make sure that there's still a sliver of the pie left for you? I don't need you to start off with a whole slice or a quarter of the pie or half of the pie or saying like, thank you guys, I want the whole pie to myself today. But start off with the sliver. Start small. Brittany says, I'm trying to figure out if the things that I'm thinking were things that I was missing in the past. I'm sitting here pondering how much of my life I have lived in that masculine energy space we talked about yesterday. Yes. Sometimes we can look back and be like, man, that was like the best time of my life, and I want to go back to that. And sometimes we can look back in our life and be like, I actually know the things that I was missing back then. Because that was the thing for me, you guys. This is part of my story. I guess every day we're going to kind of circle back a little bit to some relatability. But even if I go back to high school, when I was in leadership, when I was in that phase, I was working part-time after school. I was in leadership, which was a class actually outside of school hours. Plus, when we ran dances, events, and stuff like that, we were at the school until midnight some days. I took all academic courses. I didn't take like electives or anything like that because our small school didn't allow it. The schedules mixed up. It wasn't necessarily a me thing, but I used to, on top of friendships, relationships, all of the things, I had a very busy schedule through high school. And when I was 16, I started having, didn't know at the time, anxiety attacks. And I actually went to the hospital hyperventilating the one day, and I was just told, you do too much. And it would be really easy for me to look back on that period of my life and be like, don't go back there. Don't go back there. You bit off more than you could chew. I know now that I was just missing things. I was missing things for myself, like boundaries. I was missing things for myself, like proper self-care. Sleep was something that I was like, doesn't matter. I probably could have prioritized it a little bit more. If I was at the school till midnight on Wednesday, doesn't matter if my friends were having sleepovers on Friday night, like maybe I should have stayed home, right? Like I can look back and see that I loved that period of my life. I loved, I love being busy. I like my days being full. I like feeling like I am contributing. I like feeling like I'm like getting all of this and I'm giving all of this. Like I love that. But I now know that to do so, yes, Meg, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I now know that to do all of the things that I want to do that I love doing, it's not about taking things off of my plate unless they don't serve me. It's about raising my capacity so that I can do it all and still understanding that I'm a human being. But sleep is now one of those things. It is non-negotiable for me to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, always. And if that means that I didn't get to bed until late, I'm sleeping in. It doesn't matter how I feel if I'm like, oh, sleeping until 9 o'clock on a Saturday is like sleeping half my day away. Like, no, tough shit. You stayed up until 2 in the morning with game night. Like, that was your choice. That was a choice that I intentionally made. So then I feel comfortable with it, right? Yesterday we talked about that, like making bargains with ourselves. So sometimes we can look back and be like, oh, I actually know all of the things I was missing. And this is a really good pivotal moment to be like, how can I shift it now? How can I shift it moving forward? And why is always such a powerful question for us to dig into, but it's also really powerful for us to normally go like 7 layers deep on that why, which we're not going to do today because we're going to run out of time. But what I want you guys to do on your own. So we did 3 questions, right? We started at the top, we went to the back. Why is this important today? Why do I want to bring this into my life? We want to continue to ask ourselves why. Like, why is it that we need to have the break for our brain? Because I'm finding that I'm feeling frazzled or overwhelmed or I can't make decisions or whatever that is, right? Why do we want to get away from that masculine energy? Maybe because we're feeling pulled to come into some like more nurturing energy, right? Some more playful energy. Then we want to ask ourselves why again, all the way until we get to, we've had 7 questions total. And maybe for you, when you write something, maybe you have a question that comes up that's not why. right? You might intuitively be like, oh, that's so interesting. Huh. I didn't actually realize that existed. What is a different, like, curiosity question that I have around that? Dig into it, unpack it so that we can understand it. Because it's normally when we get to the seventh question that, like, our subconscious is like layers deep. And I always view our heart voice as this little, like, thing on a throne wearing his little crown, surrounded by a fortress, surrounded by a moat with a dragon outside and like a war around it. Like, we've got to break down the barriers to get to this place where we are deeply, deeply connected to this. Because it would be fine to say, I want to be a little more carefree. Cool. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up feeling that pressure, Meg, I'm sorry, I keep coming back to yours because we talked about it a lot. You're used to this with me, but I don't want you to wake up tomorrow morning and feel the weight of that pressure and be like, yeah, well, I guess carefree isn't happening today. We need to have that deep attachment to why we want and need and deserve this. Because when we step into this place where we start to embrace these things, where we start to value ourselves, where we start to live intuitively, magical stuff happens, you guys. Like yesterday when I shared that we went to Disneyland and I like, for lack of better words, micromanaged everything, but it didn't feel like micromanaging everything. It felt like nurturing. It felt like giving and receiving on the other end because I I was just as childlike as the kids were while we were there, but I also did all of the adulty things, right? Check the box, check out. Check the box, check out. So now that I've shared, that we've done all of this, okay, so that's your guys' homework, is to sit down with us afterwards and do a couple layers deep. Yes, Meg, I'm glad that you're already starting to get a little bit more awareness around this. This is huge. This is also ever evolving. It's going to change depending on the season you're in. It's going to change depending on the like physical seasons that we're in too, because how we feel in the summer is different than fall. Depending on where we're at in our cycle is going to be different. Were we sick? Do we have family coming to stay? Do the kids have events? Are you going for a promotion? Like, this is ever evolving. It is a flow that we get to live in. And sometimes the river has some rapids, and sometimes it comes to a waterfall. And one of the best visuals that came from talking with another friend about this like capacity concept and how like our cups pour into each other and all of the things, we were talking about how a lot of times people come to this place in their life and they feel like they've been flowing on the river and then there's a waterfall, like just straight over the cliff, straight down. Like, I don't know if I'm going to survive that. When we do this work, when we do this work to raise our capacity, we're gonna come to waterfalls where things happen, but we're gonna come to cascading waterfalls that like come down a little bit and then there's a little bit of a pool, but because there was so much water from above and so much momentum, it just flows down into the next one and it flows down into the next one. And that's where we get to a point where we start to recognize like, okay, family life is taxing right now. So for me to raise my capacity to show up there, I know that when I show personally, when I show up in my business, I get to bring all of that energy into my family. I get to take the fact that I completely checked out from this box and came into this box, and I gave myself that breathing room so that I am kind of disconnected. I've had some breathing time and I could come back to my kids. And when I do that, like now my friendships are flowing. And then just like my day-to-day interactions with random people are so much easier, right? Like we get to come to this place where, yeah, it's going to come down sometimes, but it's a lot more gentle. We can stay in our kayak, all safe and sound, and navigate it because we know how to, because we've done the work to make sure that we are capable of handling it. Yes? Is everybody following me? Yeah. Okay, all of this to say, can I share with you guys what I put together for the 12-week program? So I've been so excited about it. Been like just buzzing all week. Ah. Okay, so I'm gonna actually pull it up because I want you guys to be able to see the details, all of the things, because I am somebody that needs to know, okay, what am I getting? Not just how am I going to feel on the other side, but like, what am I actually getting for my money? So where is share screen? Okay, so when I was building out this 3-day capacity redefined course, there were a lot of things that as I was journaling out, like, okay, what are the things that we actually need to protect our energy, to tap into a better energy, to like this identity side of things? I was journaling out all of the pieces that could have fallen into any one of those three buckets. And I picked the ones that I felt like if this 3-day course is all you do with me, I feel so good that you came in and spent this time with me. And I am sending you out with like a solid little foundation starter. But if you came in and this brought up a lot of awareness around some things that you're like, oh, yeah, okay, I actually do really struggle with this. And there's a lot of work that I have to do there. I wanted to make sure that I was able to tie everything that we taught back into all of the ideas that I dumped out. Because even when we talked about boundaries, I shared boundaries also kind of go hand in hand with expectations. Communicating expectations, understanding why we have them, that's a whole hour-long workshop on its own that I could dig into with you guys. That outside of all of these workshops that I was able to put into this 12-week program, we're going to actually do some uncomfortable work. We're going to push on some edges and we're going to actually implement the things. So within this 3-month program, there's going to be weekly calls where we come on, we do the mindset work. We'll have more time to actually do coaching. So I'll be able to unmute people. I know today I just had you guys sharing in the chat thread. Yesterday I had Linda unmute. Wednesday, Caitlin unmuted. Today was a little tighter on time, so just a chat thread. But on those workshops, there's always going to be the opportunity to get coached, okay? Just like I said on Wednesday, what one person is struggling with, at least one other person in the room is also struggling with it. So even if I coach one person, it serves the community as a whole. It helps to kind of paint some pictures. Sometimes when you hear someone else's subconscious like laid out, sometimes that creates like a little light bulb and you're like, I didn't actually realize I was dealing with that too. Maybe I need to do some work on that, right? It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's so much fun. Outside of that, we're also going to, of course, be keeping, I didn't actually hit share screen. I'm so sorry, you guys. Let me, green, this one. So you're going to get the 12 workshops. You are going to get lifetime access to the recordings. I will say this until I am blue in the face. Being on live is 100%. You are in the moment, you are engaging in the chat thread, all of the things. It's like going to Taylor Swift concert live. Yes, please. But catching the recording, you get out what you put in. If you are someone that is on the go and all you can do is listen on the drive home, like I used to do when I was working full time, you guys, that's how I moved through every program that I moved through while I was still working full time, was with the recordings. You get out what you put in. I would listen. And then if I needed to, I would go back after the kids went to bed and I would take the notes that I needed to take from the couple of sections in the workshop that I had, right? Just because you didn't go to Taylor Swift's concert live doesn't mean that you're not going to watch it on Disney, right? Zoe's watched it 6 times. We're going to still have access to the Capacity Queens community, which will still have regular posts from me. We'll have some kind of homework getting posted after the workshops. I wish that there was a better word for homework because I know that that sounds like, oh my God, you're putting me back into school. But like I said on Wednesday, I don't want you guys to just get off of these calls and be like, I felt really good for an hour. Like I want you guys to go and implement into your life. It's gonna look like saying, hey, we talked about boundaries that we want to set with someone. In the next week, we're going to schedule in time to have that conversation with them. We talked about nurturing energy. Okay, every day you're going to check in with yourself. Did I make sure that I had some nurturing energy going on throughout the day, right? Regular group check-ins and support. So everything is going to be within the group. That is just easiest because if one person again is struggling with it, multiple people are. What is this here? There we go. You're also going to get a copy of my Master Your Time planner journal. This is something I will just not email, mail it to you directly. This is a 3-month planner that I built out last year. This is going to help everybody to schedule out their time, to be doing some of the work that we're going to be actually going through in the 12-week program. There's journaling prompts in that workbook to help you stay on track with that. Everybody is also going to get a one-on-one session so that if you don't feel comfortable opening up in the group space, I know that you have one space at least that we can dive into some subconscious so that we get your wheels turning in a deeper level. But we also get to tackle your specific stuff. I use a lot of examples around motherhood because that's just like, that's my current season of life. That's front of my brain. That's the easiest. You might not be a mom. So then how can we come in and say, hey, I loved the boundaries workshop, but like this is where I'm struggling with it and I don't know how to apply it. Now we get to do that time. Okay. I charge $500 for a one-on-one session, you guys. This is insane value to be included in this program. Bonus, you're also going to get instant access to the 3 days Back on Track masterclass that I ran last month. This includes workshops on ditching the all or nothing mentality, better understanding our subconscious and why we self-sabotage, and also diving a little bit into 5 to Thrive, the formula that I use for my like daily habits, all of the things. When I pay for programs, you guys, I am currently enrolled in something right now that is $1,500 a month. It is stretchy. It is uncomfortable. It is very much an understanding that, yes, this is an investment that makes me kind of like want to puke, but I know on the other side, I get to be the person I want to be. Every single time I invest in a program, you guys, this is what I need you guys to do, okay? Every time I invest in a program, I put myself 6 months out because most programs I do are 6 months. This is only 3 months. So you could go into January. And I want you to imagine if you go through the holidays the way that you have been, with the energy that you have been, the capacity that you have had, the way that you've done it before, how is it going to feel in January? If nothing changes, do you want to do that? If everything could change, because I can't guarantee it, right? You could get on the workshops if you don't do the homework. Like, I can't guarantee it. I can guarantee that if you get on the workshops and you do the homework, though, you're going to be a different person in 3 months. How different could your life feel if in January you weren't going, this whole, I hate this, the new year, new me. Like, no, you can't wake up and just decide that you're going to be a new me. It's supposed to be a celebration of the growth that you had the year before. What if in January you actually felt like a new version of you? Would that be worth the investment? I am not going to charge you guys $1,500 a month because you guys aren't getting an ROI on it. The return on investment is not financial. It is here. It is bodily. It is emotionally. It is mentally. For some people, you need this because your marriage is on the rocks. For some of you, it's because you're ready to rip your hair out with your kids. For some of you, it's because you literally hate waking up and going to your job every day and you need to find some joy in your life and like, oh my God, I deserve to have that. Okay. That still has a return on investment. It's just not financial. So this program for 3 months is $2,222. What I did, because I know the group that's coming into this is very all over the place as far as stay-at-home moms, work-from-home moms, like it's all over the place. It's a very different demographic. We're coming into the holidays. What I did is for the 3-month program, I made it an option to do a 5-pay, so that every month the payment is only $444. So I wanted to keep it less than 500 because most times we can pivot that when we are at our highest capacity. Now we're not doing takeout multiple times a week. Guys, when we order pizza, it's $100 night. It's insane. If I cut out pizza night for a month, I could afford this program. That blows my mind. But I wanted to be able to make it manageable. The other thing that I always do in my programs is if you pay in full upfront, I offer a discount because I appreciate you. And I know that most people are putting it on their Visa and you're going to pay 20% interest. So I try to like soften that up for you. So if you were to pay in full upfront, it is only $1,777. This is all in Canadian prices. So if you are in the States, you save 30% off of all of this because the exchange rate is in your favor, not mine. And of course, for the people that feel like, yes, I want to do this, but also I need one-on-one time, I have a VIP option there as well. So you are able to upgrade and pay just for 3 months of one-on-one coaching. You will get access to the program for free. It will be fully included in everything. So I dropped the comment or the link into the comments, sorry. Megan, I appreciate this. Yes. She says, for anyone new to working with Trisha, she's been doing my programs for almost a year. And although this current Meg isn't where I want to be, I have come so far from where I was last year. Megan, I appreciate hearing that so much. That is one of the reflections that I do with my one-on-one clients when they're going through things that are heavy and difficult, or they had a crap week with the kids and they're like, I still didn't handle it the greatest. I'm like, okay, but how would you have handled it 6 months ago? And 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10, actually, it is better than I would have handled it back then. They can recognize that at least I took a deep breath before I responded. I responded instead of reacting. Like there is always this constant growth. And the 3 months is not the be all end all of everything, but it's a foundation. It is a foundation to come in and do this work and make 2025 actually a different year. Because now 2025 gets to be the year where you're like, oh, this is my year. I came into 2024, you guys, saying this is my year. This is the year of impact. Impact was my word of the year, but also joy. I just wanted to feel so much joy this year. And that is what I have done, not just in the big trips with Disneyland, but in being home with my kids for summer break, in having crazy months where we are in activities that take up 6 days of the week and loving every minute of it. April was bananas. If you want to hear about that, about me and the kids being in sports, please message me. We will talk about it. It was wonderful. We're about to go into that again. The other thing I mentioned earlier, you guys, this isn't official because this is an idea that came to me a couple of days ago. I told my husband this is going to happen. I have no details. I just know that I want to do this. And that means you guys that have worked with me, you know that that means it's going to happen. I'm going to be running a retreat next year. This is going to be something that is very heavily connection based. I want this to be an opportunity for people to come either with their significant other or with their best friend that maybe you just need an excuse to travel and get out together, whatever it is. It's going to be couples without necessarily having to be like partnership couples. It's going to be a really wonderful thing. I know that it's going to be in the mountains. I know that I am going to find a place that has little individual cabins so that people can still have one-on-one time, but we're going to be doing tons of group stuff together. We'll be bringing a lot of the mindset work that I do with everyone in these spaces and applying it in those times. So when we're doing some kind of stretchy activities, leaning into communicating with the partner that we brought, all of these things, it's going to be super fun. It's going to be magical. These are the ideas that I just had the other night. That's it. I have no details. For everybody that does this capacity redefined manual program, you are going to get 50% off whatever the price ends up being for the retreat. I will give you 50% off for leaning in and doing this work and being like, I don't care how or when or where I'm in. I want to reward action. Okay. For anybody that signs up this weekend before Sunday night, I'm going to give you a bonus one-on-one. So everybody is getting a one-on-one with this access, but if you take quick action and you sign up before Sunday night, you are going to get 2 one-on-ones with me. Okay. And if you're someone that does the VIP option, that means that you'll just get an extra month tapped on to the end. So you get 4 months of one-on-one with me. Okay. Does anybody have any questions before we hop off? I appreciate you guys taking a little extra time with me this morning. Does everybody feel really good after these 3 days? Yeah, yeah. It looks like Meg's typing, so I'm just gonna wait a minute. Also, if you guys know anybody that will, oh, the giveaway. Thank you, Meg. You know my brain. It's gonna take place right here, right now. I'm gonna pull up the giveaway. Okay, so we had 16 entries. Pick a number between 1 and 16. It even does a little like ball drop. It's so cute. Three. Who's number three on this sheet? Trisha McChesney. She's not on today, but I will message her. Probably at 8. We got a 3 on the little lotto ball roll. So I will reach out to Trisha. So she's gonna get $1,000 in credits to work with me, whether that's one-on-one or applying it to the program, or she is also allowed to gift it to somebody else. That is one thing I just want to ask you guys, especially with running this for free. Part of why I do things for free is because it's easier for you guys to come in and share it with other people. And while it's not free anymore, you can still share the lessons that you learned. Okay. I ask that you don't give them your login information. Please just like honor that side of things, but bring these conversations, bring these questions to your friends, to your spouse, to your kids, to whoever, and spread the ripple effect. Okay. Impact is fine when it comes from me to you, but the magic comes in when it goes from you to other people. Okay. I appreciate you guys for spending so much time with me this week. For everybody that was able to hop on live, thank you for engaging in the chat thread, for sharing your energy. I hope that you guys have a magical weekend, and I hope to see some of you in the manual program next month. Okay, that's a detail that I missed out in there. The manual starts on November 7th, so we've got a couple of weeks before it kicks off, but you can always get your one-on-one in the meantime. And yeah, I hope that you guys have a wonderful weekend, and we will chat soon. Bye, everybody.